Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 1990's Represent. We're still in our sixth cycle of 1993, looking at a movie. In this episode, we're taking a look at The Fugitive. Just amazing film. I remember seeing this back when it came out in theaters. I think I've maybe seen it like a total of maybe four times. So I saw it in the theater when it came out. I maybe saw it once on maybe HBO or VHS or something. Um, and this is, I think, the actual one of the first Blu-rays I ever picked up. I think I watched it on Blu-ray in 2013. Because in 2012, the computer that I'm working on now, I purchased that computer. It had a Blu-ray drive in it, so I could able to watch Blu-rays on this computer. And I think to test it out, I remember being at like a Walmart or something and seeing The Fugitive on Blu-ray. It was pretty cheap. It was like definitely like less than $10. I don't think it was quite as cheap as like the little like $5 bin we have now. But yeah, it was definitely less than $10. Watched it back in 2013, and then most recently ended up renting it on Amazon. I don't think it's streaming on any kind of service where you can just kind of watch it. I think it might be on Netflix, but I think it's in. It's not available to stream in the U.S. I think it's like in like the U.K. or something. So I ended up just renting it on Amazon. But really good film. Harrison Ford's great in this. Tommy Lee Jones also amazing. Other characters in here are great as well. Joe Pantoliano is in this. But yeah, it's an amazing film. I have some notes here about it. We'll get to those notes and then we'll get to the plot. Let me just see what I wrote down for my notes here. There we go. So we have The Fugitive, released August 6th, 1993. One thing I kind of want to mention about this is kind of the whole thing with the one-armed man became kind of like a meme after. I don't know if it was necessarily call it a meme, but it became kind of a thing. Like I remember kids in school being snarky and like teacher be like, "Hey, like who did this? Like who? Like some kid was in trouble." It's like, "Oh, the one-armed man did it." I think there was. It may have been. I don't remember which Ace Ventura was. But I think there was a joke. I think it was the second one, but a joke about the one-armed man doing something. It was some Jim Carrey movie, so I don't know. I think it was one of the Ace Venturas. But yeah, that kind of became like a huge joke, kind of like in this time period. I'll be like, oh, like who did this? The one-armed man did it. So I just remember that. Um, Commercially, critically, just incredibly successful. Apparently had a $44 million budget, and it ended up grossing 368.9 million worldwide. So one of the top grossing movies of that year. Yeah, so a $44 million budget and made 368.9 million. That's pretty good. Um, One thing about this film is the suspense in this film. It's just incredible. There's just a ton of suspenseful scenes. Like you have scenes where, like Richard Kimball, played by Harrison Ford, he's in a hospital, and I think like he's like, he shaves, he gets cleaned up, and he's hiding in like the bathroom of this hospital, and a nurse comes in to check on the patient, and you see him like hide behind the door as he goes in there, and you just know at any moment he could get caught by like anybody. I think one of the guards that's like going to the hospital recognizes him because he's like in that. There's like the whole thing with the bus and train crash. But you have basically scenes with Tommy Lee Jones chasing after him, where you just know he can get caught at any second. You have scenes where he's like digging through evidence, trying to basically clear his name, and the person's whose house he's in could come in at any moment. So the film is basically a masterclass of suspense. One of the most suspenseful movies I think I've seen, at least recently, and then also back in 1993. I obviously hadn't seen as many films as I have now, but yeah, I just remember it being incredibly suspenseful and just a kind of, like I said, a perfect like suspense, like action thriller kind of movie. Let's talk about Tommy Lee Jones. Kind of steals the show at like basically at some point in the film. Like it's like you're obviously wanting Harrison Ford to get away, but then also you're kind of rooting for Tommy Lee Jones as well. And he kind of becomes like the, I don't know, he's not the protagonist, but he's like definitely like antagonistic towards Harrison Ford's character. But yeah, just like his character is incredibly persistent, dedicated. Tommy Lee Jones, of course, won an Academy Award for the role. I think this was the first film that I saw him in. After this, I want to say I saw him in like The Client, based on I think it was John Grisham, the kind of crime like legal procedure kind of like book or a book that they turned into a movie. Saw him in that. Saw him, of course, in Batman Forever. We talked about that on this series at one point. And then Men in Black. But I was going through his filmography earlier today, and I think this was the first movie that I saw him in. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff since. Last movie I think I saw him in was Ad Astra. He's in that kind of. But yeah, just kind of this is my exposure to him as an actor, and he just knocks it out of the park. He's got that line. He's like, I want every dog house, hen house, farmhouse, and outhouse to be checked. I can't do that CD everywhere because he's like, I want every gas station, like house, like it's just. And then he's like, after there's a whole scene where it's like, Richard Kimball's like, I didn't kill my wife. He's like, classic line of I don't care. And then Harrison Ford jumps off the dam kind of thing, and all of I think Sam Gerard is the character that Tommy Lee Jones plays. They're all like, oh, there's no way anybody survived that. And then he's like, well, it should be really easy to find him then. Like, he's got the dialogue that his character gets is just incredible. So incredible dialogue from Tommy Lee Jones. Obviously, well-deserved Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor at the 1994 Academy Awards. Apparently, other people that were considered for the role of Richard Kimball, it wasn't initially just going to be a straight-up Harrison Ford thing. Other people that were considered were Kevin Costner, Nick Nolte, Alec Baldwin, and Michael Douglas. Harrison Ford wanted to do a movie. He said he took the role because it was like kind of very opposite of how he is. He also wanted to grow a beard for the role, so like he actually did grow that beard. But then Warner Brothers kind of wanted him. I think there was something where they said, you can have the beard for part of the movie, but you got to get rid of it because we're paying you, and we want to be able to see your face and not have it be covered by a beard. So he has the beard early in the film, and then to kind of disguise himself further, he obviously shaves it, and the Harrison Ford we have on the poster right over the pointing always into it over there is obviously after he's shaved and obviously more recognizable. But yeah, he wanted to grow a beard, and Warner's like, okay, well, you can have it, but you got to get rid of it like partway through the movie. Apparently, people that were also considered for the role of Sam Gerard were Jon Voight and Gene Hackman. The movie did get a spin-off. I actually haven't seen this movie, but I know U.S. Marshals is basically a spin-off of this movie. Harrison Ford's not in that, but that movie follows Sam Gerard, again, Tommy Lee Jones' character from this movie, going after, I think, Wesley Snipes. I actually haven't seen U.S. Marshals. I've seen parts of it and clips of it, but I've never seen the entire thing, but it's essentially a spin-off of this movie. Alright, so we got all that out of the way. Now we're going to get to the plot of this film. So, the plot of the film is fairly straightforward. Harrison Ford's character is arrested and basically convicted of killing his wife. And the whole film is essentially him basically trying to prove his innocence and then also like clear his name and also find out who actually killed his wife. It's part mystery and part like a chase movie. So it's basically Richard Kimball evading Sam Gerard as well as trying to solve this murder. So film starts off. There's flashbacks throughout the movie of kind of like the things that happened prior to him getting arrested. So they're at like a hospital like fundraiser for the hospital that he works at. They're kind of just going around the fundraiser, like saying hi to everybody, what have you. They're driving home, him and his wife, and he gets called back into emergency surgery. So he basically drops his wife at home, goes back to the hospital to help this other surgeon with surgery, and comes back, and there is a struggle in his house. It's him and I think the character's name was Sykes, who's like essentially the one-armed man. But basically, this guy kills his wife and kind of flees. And there's a lot of evidence that shows that Harrison Ford's character could be the murderer. There's like apparently like he owns a gun. There's fingerprints on the gun. I don't know if the gun was ever used in that murder though. But there apparently his wife has a very large like life insurance policy, so that's kind of like a motive for Richard Kimball to commit this murder. There was no forced entry into the house, so it was potentially like shown that he kind of like went in there and then murdered his wife. Apparently, the scene where he is being interrogated by the like I think like detectives was apparently entirely ad libbed. I remember reading this somewhere, and it was so there was no real script, and that was done intentionally to kind of have it be to have Harrison Ford be like more frantic because he's like, "You find this man! It was the one-armed man!" And then he's kind of like going through this whole thing, and apparently there wasn't a script for that. It was all just kind of come up like Harrison Ford kind of came up with it like spontaneously. He's probably under like the director probably said it like, "Hey, like these are the bullet points you need to hit in this scene," and just go off. But there's enough evidence to basically try and convict him for murder. He's scheduled for, I think, the death penalty, and then they're getting loaded into a prison bus. One thing I noticed was I think Richard Reel is the actor in this. He plays one of the guards on the bus, and that's better known as or movie that I remember first seeing him in was Office Space. He plays Tom, the jump to conclusions guy. He was also recently in a movie that we watched from his series with Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. So he's in this. He's the kind of one of the bus prison guards. Some of the other prisoners try to do like an escape, and I think like somebody gets shot, and the bus kind of goes out of control, rolls down an embankment, and then gets hit by an oncoming train. This action sequence is incredible. Apparently, it was done in kind of one take with a lot of planning. I think it cost about $1 million to, according to my research, to do that scene. But Richard Kimball tries to save saves one of the guards. I think it's the guard that got shot. Another prisoner gets out, and I think the other prisoner is like, "I don't care where you go, just don't follow me." So then they go their separate ways. The guard, and then Richard Reel's character, who is like basically like he kind of dopes out of the entire situation because he's just like, "Oh, like help me get." He's like, "Kimball, you're a doctor, help me with this guard," and he's trying to help him, and then like as soon as they know the train's coming, Richard Reel's character is just like, "See ya, I'm out of here." But yeah, the incredible like action sequence here. And then after Richard Kimball kind of and the other guy go their own way is when the U.S. Marshals get involved, and this is kind of where they discover that there is a missing prisoner, or in this case, there's actually a couple of them. Because yeah, Richard Reel's character is like, "Oh, I don't think anybody survived," and then they eventually find like the leg shackles. He's like, "Look at this, leg shackles with no legs in it." And then this is where Tommy Lee Jones' character goes into his whole I want every outhouse, gas station, farmhouse, hen house searched within like a 4 mile radius. Um, so then after that, Richard Kimball sneaks into a hospital, goes into this like patient's room. This kind of like scene I was talking about earlier, where he's like hiding in like the bathroom temporarily. Shaves. I think he like takes like the guy's food from him. Leaves. One of the guards is like, "Hey man, we're looking for like a guy who's like 6'4", got brown hair and a beard." And he's like, "You seen anybody like that?" And Harrison Ford's character is like, "Every day when I look at the mirror, pal." He's like, but without the beard. And he then basically steals an ambulance. But one of the guards, the guard that he rescued is actually on one of these ambulances and is about to recognize him. And he puts like Harrison Ford's character puts like the little like oxygen mask on him to make it just so he can't talk for a second, and then he like takes off in the ambulance and gets chased down by the marshals. And this leads to the kind of iconic scene at the dam where he goes through the tunnel, and then they lose him in the tunnel. But then Tommy Lee Jones realizes that he climbed into one of these grates and is now underneath the dam. So the encounter there, they're kind of chasing him through these underground like tunnels in the dam. And this is the part where like basically like he steals Harrison Ford's character steals one of Tommy Lee Jones's character's guns. Tommy Lee Jones has a second gun, and then it's the scene where he's like, "Put your hands on top of your head." He's like, "I didn't kill my wife." He's like, "I don't care," and then he jumps off of the dam. Everybody thinks he's probably long gone at that point, like dead basically. And then this is the great line from Sam Gerard is like, "Well, if he's dead, he should be easy to find." He's like, "I want hounds like on both sides of the river, both up and downstream for like 2 miles." Um, so and then Harrison Ford's character survives. Basically, like sleeps kind of like in like the like under like in like the forest for like a night or something. And then has obviously flashbacks and nightmares about his wife's murder. And then eventually he makes his way back to Chicago. Um, the marshals are doing their investigation, and I think Richard runs into one of his friends. His friend gives him some cash. Um, but Richard is back in Chicago. He calls another friend, and he's like, "Where are you at?" He's like, "Oh, I'm in St. Louis." And they have that phone. It's like I think he's like calling his lawyer or something like that. And they have that guy's phone tapped, and they deduce that he's definitely not in St. Louis. They're like, well, the train did like they're like, well, the sound of that train sounds like an L train. So he's like, they're like, what cities have L trains? They're like, well, Chicago's got them, New York's got them, and then they hear somebody on like a loudspeaker saying something, and they kind of like filter out the audio, and it basically pinpoints that he's somewhere still in Chicago. So now they're going at like still going out to Chicago. They think they find him at a like a house, but it ends up being the other prisoner. That guy ends up getting shot. They kind of like they do like a raid on this house, and it's the prisoner that also got off the train earlier in the film, and he takes one of Gerard's guys cap like hostage, and they basically like shoot the guy that escaped. And the guy later is like, "Oh man, we should have bargained." And he's like, Tommy Lee Jones has a great line. He's like, he's like, "I don't bargain like that." He just basically doesn't bargain. But they find out that Richard is still in Chicago. He's going to like he's goes into like the city hall, and there's a great chase during like the St. Patrick's Day parade where he evades Sam Gerard again. He then like I think like rents an apartment from I think a couple Russian people. He's hanging out in that apartment. And he like makes a fake ID at a hospital to basically get access to the prosthetic lab. So he's basically running reports on any patients at that hospital that have had prosthetic limb adjustments. And there's just like there's like 100 something results, and then he narrows it down to 20, or by like filtering it, and then he starts like investigating these people. There's one scene in the hospital where I think it was actually Julianne Moore's character. Like Julianne Moore's in this. I think she's the nurse that was like, hey, like, because he's disguised as a janitor, and she's like, hey, take this kid down to observation room, whatever. And basically, like Richard Kimball, changed the paperwork to get the kid into emergency surgery. He's like, hey, like, because he knows like where they're sending him. It's like not like he's like this kid's got like a condition that needs to be operated on immediately, and then he flees the hospital because she yanks his name tag off and is gonna call security, and he runs again. But when the marshals show up, they basically say like, hey, like he saved this kid's life, so like it's kind of like I vividly remember that scene because he basically like brings him to where he needs to go, even though that's not where I think it was Julianne Moore told him not to go basically. But one thing happens after this is he goes to these places. He's calling people. He's like, hey, like I'm looking for so and so. He'd be like, oh, that guy's dead. Or he goes to somebody that's supposed to be that also has. He goes to like a prison to talk to a guy, and the guy's like, hey man, you pull me out of my cell. You better like give me a conversation. We don't got no cable in here. And then he eventually finds his way to Sykes' house. Sykes ends up being the actual person that was the one-armed man that killed his wife. But he's going through his desk, and he sees a bunch of photos of one of his other colleagues and the Sykes guy, and he looks at it, and it's like this pharmaceutical company, and he starts doing some research, and there was this drug that they were testing, or going to be testing, and Richard Kimball found out that it caused liver damage. So he's like, hey, what's going on? And like, how are these results changed? Jane Lynch is in the film. She's one of, I think, one of his colleagues, and they discover that um, that guy, the guy in the photo, was like killed in a car accident like a year prior to this part of the movie, and that the liver samples show no signs of liver damage, and also that they're all from the same liver. So he's like, well, these samples are getting switched. Sam Gerard actually has Sykes under um, not evaluation, under surveillance as well. But Richard eventually realizes what has happened, and that the friend that he met earlier in the film, he gets Sam Gerard questions this guy a couple times throughout the movie, and he's like, Richard's too smart for you guys. He's gonna like evade you and do whatever. But it ended up being that he is the one that switched the samples to get this drug approved, because there was like a huge like $1 billion like pharmaceutical company going at it. So he's going to this conference, or Richard Kimball's going to this conference where this thing is going to be unveiled or something. He gets attacked by Sykes on a train, and then Sykes ends up shooting a police officer, and basically now the police think that Richard Kimball shot this police officer. He handcuffs Sykes like inside the car, and now the tensions are going between Sam Gerard's team and the Chicago police, who are basically saying, hey, shoot Richard Kimball on sight because he shot a police officer. But he goes to the conference, kind of calls out his friend in front of me. He's like, hey, you're the only one that had access. You changed the samples. And it's probably, he was probably intending on having Richard killed as well. So probably it was, yeah, because Richard was the one that knew that it was causing liver damage. So he sent Sykes probably to his house to kill him, but not knowing that he wasn't there because he was called into emergency surgery. So he calls him out at this convention, and there's a huge fight ensues between the two of them. And then Sam Gerard, and I forget Joe Pantoliano's character's name, but they're also chasing after him. And then Richard's friend is about to shoot Sam Gerard, and Harrison Ford's character rescues him. Basically, he clears his name, and he gets escorted out in handcuffs again, and they're in the car. And Tommy Lee Jones' character unlocks the handcuffs, and Harrison Ford's like, I thought you didn't care. And he's like, Tommy Lee Jones is like, don't tell anybody. And he gets rid of the cuffs. But yeah, basically, it's kind of like it's a chase movie, but also a mystery as well, because part of the movie is him escaping Sam Gerard trying to chase him down, and then also find out the truth or why his wife was murdered and who murdered his wife. Yeah, that's basically the film, but it's a really good, just great suspenseful film. Like I said, Tommy Lee Jones is great in it. Harrison Ford is also really good. So basically it's those two kinds of drive the movie. I would say the movie's maybe even more driven by Tommy Lee Jones, even though Harrison Ford is like the main character. But yeah, it's just an incredible film. I highly recommend checking it out. That's going to do it for this video. We'll be back again in a few days with a 1993 video game. I have no idea what game we're going to cover just yet, but we'll be back with that before we start going back into 1994 and the rest of the decade. So again, that's going to do it for now. So remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you again next time. Thanks again for watching. Take care and have a good one. See ya.